Let me congratulate ET government for bringing together the people who have different backgrounds, but with one single goal. There are technologists, there are policymakers, there are administrators, there are people who are the ones who are going to be governed, and all of them are going to work on what should be the new model of governance as we enter a completely unknown territory and a different world than what we have been used to. We are going to be facing certain challenges on social front, on economic front, on political front, on health front altogether. And again, it's not just one country which is facing these challenges. The whole world at the same time is at the receiving end with a back to the walls as to how do we deal with such a emergent situation which has baffled almost everybody. As we know, the governance is an instrument. It's a tool which has to be used effectively to deliver certain things to the people who expect a lot from their own governments. And the governance is at all levels. There's a governance at a village level, at a district level, at a state level, at a national level, more importantly, even at a global level. So all levels, the expectations of the stakeholders who are supposed to receive from their respective governments, their expectations become a most important part of deciding what's be the tool that we should be using. The governance in itself doesn't have a purpose. The governance is like an invisible entity. What you normally see is a government, but you don't see the governance. But then, as we have seen many times in our lives, what we see is not as important as what we don't see. We see the hand of God, but very rarely, and only those who are very fortunate and very accomplished and very enlightened can only see the God. We are not seeing the virus called COVID-19 or Corona, but we are seeing its effects. So what you don't see many times become far more important. You can see the government as an institution, the ministers, the administrators, the bureaucrats, and everybody else. But if you see the government and don't see the governance, the expectation part never will be fulfilled. Because people don't create an institution called government for seeing that institution. They want to see what that institution will deliver, and that will depend on many things. One, in modern times, as I was saying, we are entering a new world. What we have, we didn't have in the past. And one of that is a tool can be used effectively by administering technologies. And that can happen in many areas. Just take a few examples. I will tell you from a personal experience something interesting. Way back in 1998, actually I have held 10 different cabinet positions under two prime ministers, 6 under Prime Minister Vajpayee and 4 under Prime Minister Modi. And then I have been in the parliament for 6 terms. So I have seen many aspects of it, and also I've seen the governance of a different kind. I used to head a bank, and I know corporate governance and many other governance, but I'm not talking about public governance. 98, I was a Minister of Environment and Forest. And there is a big challenge. On one hand, the ministry by definition has to protect environment. have to conserve the forests, save wildlife. On the other hand, those who are living in the wild, they are your responsibility. And those who are living outside, you have an obligation towards them, and that's a governance issue. Because they expect that their economic needs to be satisfied. Well, I have an obligation as an environment minister to protect the biodiversity. How do you do this? So I came out with an idea that a conflict comes when you give a permission for an economic activity, environment clearance. I said, why not put the entire process of environment clearance granting on internet, complete. The moment of final result, the recommendations of environment impact assessment authorities, various expert group, all. I'm talking about 22 years ago, when there was no technology of the kind that we have today. So the key factor of all of this is transparency. And therefore I did it. But today, with the new technology that are available to us, let's take example of one or two. Blockchain. Now just imagine using blockchain. What is the definition of blockchain? By it's actually the function of this technology itself is mentioned in its nomenclature. The various blocks, can you convert them and link them with a chain and deliver something? Governments are repository to huge information. In fact, when I was a railway minister, I had invited top-class data experts to find out how can you use this data, monetize data, by protecting privacy. Of course, that's very important. But can you monetize that huge piles of data that we have and make it as a profit center for the railways? So we can have a non-fair revenue. Because as you know, railways have to make profit to ensure that they remain a commercially viable entity while delivering on their social obligations. So social obligation demands that I cannot charge too much, but at the same time, for providing those services, I must make sure that they are commercially viable. So I have to build alternate source of revenue that is called non-fair revenue, which has started a non-fair revenue directorate for the first time in railways, first time. So blockchain can help you to unlock this huge data that the governments have in various departments. There are many departments deal with the same target group. For example, any government in the world, now women are a priority, youth is a priority. I'm talking only from the gender point of view. But there are certain interest groups like farmers and fishermen and others are also a priority. In fact, I did something like that in my old Lok Sabha constituency from where I got elected 4 times, that I had 6 interest groups. I was working for them: fishermen, farmers, women, youth, ex-servicemen, and socially backward people. I tried to collect those schemes for these 6 interest groups, and I discovered that there are 20 odd ministries, and I don't know how many departments of those ministries, and how many organizations under those ministries. Like there is an organization called CAPAT under Rural Development Ministry. All of them put together are dealing with the same interest groups. So just imagine if you use blockchain in a manner that all those various departments which we deal with them, let them deal with it. But can you have a unified approach, some sort of a convergence in terms of implementation? That's why I made a book at that time. There's no technology like what we have today. And then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee released that book. I prepared it myself. And this was the first of its kind. To deal with interest group-wise schemes, not the ministry-wise, interest group-wise, the backwards. The target group and what are the different arms of the government deal with those schemes. Now, the blockchain can be used very effectively for delivering the services to meet the expectations of the people, which I said is the primary reason for governance. The second aspect of governance, which I just mentioned, is transparency. You must bring in complete transparency in the governance. And that has been my sole motto of being in the government and in the parliament, or even earlier with the public life, and now also in whatever I'm doing. Because that, unless you inspire the confidence of the people, and people know for sure that taxpayers' money is utilized properly and not just spent, but for outcomes. And to do that, I gave an example of Environment Forest Ministry. I can give 100 examples on each ministry handle. I don't want to burden you with that, but each of that has to be with a transparency as a driving principle. And if you do that, today's technologies can help us a big way. One of that is something which is not a great technology, but application of mind. And that is what I'm saying I implemented in the railways. Can you bring government accounting to ensure that they give outcomes? There was an outcome budget which was prepared earlier by government, and I was so disappointed with it when I was in the opposition, and then finance minister had prepared it. As chartered accountant, I went and prepared a report and gave it to the then finance minister, though I was in opposition. I said, I don't want to criticize alone, I'm giving a solution. But then I implemented it by integrating from budgeting to government expenditure to output and then outcome, integrating into that management information system, right to information, everything else. Just imagine if you bring in a complete transparency into these whole operations of the government, will it not help you for the people to feel that the governance is something which I'm experiencing? It's not something I'm talking about, but I'm feeling it. And that's only guarantee for people to inspire confidence in their respective government is to ensure complete transparency. And this is application, as I said, and I demonstrated in railways. I did it in few divisions and could have been scaled up all over the country. And this I had mentioned in my railway budget. I presented 2 railway budgets, and each of my railway budget, whatever I had said, was implemented. And I gave an action taken report. First time in railways history, I gave action taken report to the parliament. That is again to inspire confidence, part of the governance. It is possible that now use artificial intelligence, another tool of technology which was not known to us earlier. Somebody just sent me nowadays on social media, you keep getting, so somebody showed me a throwback picture. You know, the aviation minister had said, why not use all these new emerging technologies, as they call it, in aviation to bring in complete transformation of that sector. I'd said the Wright brothers, when they invented the planes, they didn't have these technologies. Now we have it. So we can do it right. Brothers can be a technology. So it will be Wright brothers. Technology will be a brother and you can do it right. So now we can use artificial intelligence for many things. We have the intelligence, why not use artificial intelligence also? And that artificial intelligence can be used in many areas. Take example of agriculture, which you probably know already, that 86% of India's water is used for agriculture. And we have only 4% of the water of the world. So how do you ensure that you use the water for cropping, which is so necessary, otherwise how will it survive and how will the farmers survive, in a manner that optimizes its use? Artificial intelligence can be a better tool than even drip irrigation, because it can give you the kind of water for crops at a time when it is needed, in the quantity when it can be used in a proper manner. So by doing this, we are augmenting our intelligence. So artificial intelligence is not artificial, because intelligence is only one. We only created it. So human beings only have the intelligence, not that other animals don't have it. But as we have read in Sapiens, this particular species has used their intelligence properly or misused it to destroy what they had, the biodiversity. But this augmented intelligence can be used in agriculture very effectively, which will solve your water problem, will create more crops, will stop your aquifers getting dried, can solve it. Big data. There is nothing like big data or small data, but just see if you can use the data effectively. And I was giving the example about how decision making can be based on data. Give an example of railways. Just imagine if you can use Internet of Things properly. What does it mean? It connects all those different gadgets to each other, and it has a chain reaction as we go along. Just imagine our power stations. I was a Minister of Power. I introduced the revolutionary changes into power sector, which resulted into power sector then, when I was Power Minister 17 years ago. From power deficit, having 18% peak level deficit, to today, India has more power than what it can consume, only because of the law that I passed. But also started at that time distribution reforms, which unfortunately were not carried forward. But today, Internet of Things, which I didn't know at that time when I started these reforms, can change and transform the power sector completely. It can ensure the right from generation to transmission when you use step-up transformer, then you step-down transformer when you bring it down to the sub-transmission and distribution level, and then you distribute power through distribution transformer. All that chain of events can be done through Internet of Things, including the energy conservation, which again the law that I had piloted in the Parliament, Energy Conservation Law, which created Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So I'm very lucky that I was fortunate enough to do all such game-changing ideas. I could implement them. But just imagine, if you can integrate into this Internet of Things, even energy conservation aspect. So all your home appliances, all your street lights, all power guzzling activities in India, can you not link them with this Internet of Things? So governance and technology married to each other is completely going to transform the world the way we are lived in the past and the way we can live for better. Technologies have twin possibilities. Like you said, dual use. One, you can make good of it, one, you can harm it. So the technology use also should be driven by ethical ideas. You cannot use artificial intelligence to create artificial babies and then a monster eventually. You cannot. So human mind has a capability of doing everything, but you should not misuse it. It should be used for global common good, not for destruction purposes. So governance must use technology for the good of people. And that is something can lead to a completely changed perspective the people will have for their government. And that is the ultimate purpose by which you can judge the efficacy of this technology, whether it is helping the people, satisfying the needs, and fulfilling their expectation. I know I can go on and on because this is the topic on which I can speak probably for days, not hours, because I've been dealing with the governance issues, and every time I've taken a responsibility to deliver, I try to take this with the railways. You know, I started using technology for addressing public grievances, which has never happened anywhere in the world of the magnitude. And that is why we should try to use, this is another tool of governance, addressing public grievances. So I think we should try to work on that. But I once again congratulate my friends in ET government. And I was telling them that ET government has created an excellent platform for bringing together all those who can contribute to making governance a better way of helping people coming closer to their governments. I congratulate once again my friends from ET government. I was going to say, because ET has so many platforms, like the railway stations have many platforms. So I think, but you can go to different platforms, but there's the ability, the train can go from one platform to another platform. So I hope all these platforms will converge finally to for what? For doing public good. That's the purpose of a platform. Thank you very much.